funniest bit of news of the day, and I wish it was Wednesday and Mo was here just for this, but Inter Milan will be offering Man United a deal to get Rasmus Højlund. Now, that's made me happy. It made me happy.
I can't believe it.
That's horrendous, man. What the hell are they sending him, man? I can't believe this. He's like the worst striker in the Premier League, man, I think. He's absolutely abysmal. What are they doing here, man? What are Inter Milan doing there? Like, what? So a loan with an option to buy. What's that option going to be, though, Tel? Like, what, 20 million or something?
There are reports from Italy, so this isn't the British press, isn't Man United. Reports in Italy have suggested it could be up to 50 million euros.
50 million euros.
Like, let's be fair. I know Man United have been run like crap, terrible year. But I think there should be not a statue, but maybe a plaque somewhere put up outside Old Trafford. If Barada can get 50 million for Rasmus, that deserves some kind of award. Wouldn't you say? There's something in that. That would be brilliant.
What is it? Because Simone Inzaghi is quality, by the way. What has he seen in him? What has he seen?
Let me say something though. If they manage to transform this guy's life and he's looking like an actual player, right? Then boy, I don't know what type of curse is at United, because I'm seeing Anthony coming out crying. I don't know if you guys have seen the quotes. He came out saying, bro, he wanted to get out of this place. We saw Sanchez after the first training session wanted to get out of that shithole as well, blood. You know what I mean? So if these men manage to turn his fortunes around, then Terry, there's something fundamentally wrong at your circumference.
One thing I forgot about Don is he hates Man United. I completely forgot.
But Don, you're not. Do you know what it is? You think you are talking facts, but you think you're like. You've just discovered fire. We've all been living in penthouses for 40 years, for 40,000 years. I've been telling everyone this. It's not the sum of our parts are not the problem. It's never been Pogba. It's never been Jose. It's never been Rashford. It's never been Rooney. It was never Moyes. It's the collective issue. It's the collective issue. When people are together as a group, the standards aren't high enough. Player power ensues. You just feel as a microcosm. Garnacho and his family, the way they tweeted after that final. That's a small example of a wider issue. These players leave. What happens is they go to a dressing room that don't allow that. They go to clubs that don't allow it. But when they're together, they're back. And we've all got mates like this. Think about our lives growing up. You have that one guy that when he's with the wrong group, he acts like a dickhead doing madnesses on the street. But when he's around your house, around your family, lovely guy, your mum likes him. He's a really cool dude. That's Man United players.
You're right. We all know this, innit? I'm just saying with Rasmus in particular, because like with Anthony, cool, he wasn't effective for you guys, but at least you could try and get something out of him. Even if you got to play him at right back or something, something about him, a little something. Rasmus has nothing. That's the point that I'm making here, right? If Rasmus manages to turn his fortunes around, then boy, I don't know, innit? I don't know.
What I would say is this: he wasn't when he first joined, and we know that you didn't think that when he first joined, because you like me, we all saw something there. He's got progressively worse. I actually think. Listen, Philip Billing, none of us wanted him. No one wanted Gilmore. Everyone was laughing at the idea that we could ever sell Scott McTominay to Italy. The man just won Player of the Season. So I will say this, and you should watch. There's a clip. I'll try and find it. Zlatan Ibrahimovic broke down the differences in every league he's played in, and the Premier League. The thing that people don't, a lot of people who watch the Prem hate this because they think that we're saying English people are faster and stronger because of their own bigotry. But the Premier League is played at a tempo that's different to Italy, different to Germany, different to Spain. You can have the technical ability, you can have the intelligence. If you don't have the physicality for the pace of our game, how quickly the ball moves from front to back, it can be hard for you. And I do think players like Anthony, players like Rasmus have struggled with that. Also in a team that has no identity, in a mismatched squad, it's a combination of these things together. But yeah, listen. A loan with an option to buy, I'll take that. And I hope we do similar for the likes of Onana, and because those players are going to be hard to sell because they've got quite a bit of time left on their deals. They're on decent money. But I'm hoping we can get similar reactions to what we've had with Anthony and Rashford and others that have gone out on loan, and then teams coming to buy them. So yeah, listen, I like that news. That cheered me up today. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed it happens. What does it say here? You can't fault logic to leave United. Can't fault the logic to leave United.
It's meant to be the other way around, I think.
Oh, okay. I think it's meant to be the other way around. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I thought. That's why it didn't make sense. But I hear you, what you're trying to say, Tony. I hear you. I don't disagree. Listen, I'm not protective of my club in that way. Our biggest issue is our squad. It's not our manager. It's our squad and how it's built and the attitude they've been allowed to get away with. And hopefully we're gonna go and fix that. I mean, because we're on Man United, we might as well go into the story. And I want to get your thoughts on this to begin with, Phil. Lots of talk last night that United is seriously pushing to try and sign Bryan Mbeumo. We've got a deal fixed for Cunha. He will come in. And interestingly, a lot of United's top targets actually mirror the exact same targets of Newcastle. You guys wanted Cunha. We got him. You guys want Mbeumo. We're after him. You guys have proposed a deal to the Lap, and so have we, and Chelsea. And there's one other player I'm forgetting, I think, that where there's an overlap. How good a player do you think Mbeumo is, and who do you think wins this race? I'd love to get your view on that, mate.
That's a great question. I think of Mbeumo, I did a show on him recently. He's essentially he got really good at goal efficiency in front of goal. You're not going to ask him to be like doing dribbling like from the midfield to the final third. He's very much a person that kind of the end product type of player. Although he's very good at. I know people would have seen him. Oh, I've seen him dribble into space before. It's different to dribble into space for a counter-attacking team than it is to kind of dribble, kind of being a front pressing team. Assists, goals. I think he's got 20 goals this season in the Premier League, which is really, really, really good. Me personally, I'm a bit hesitant for him for Newcastle, just because I feel like next year we're going to be playing a lot more against low blocks, and we're already struggling a little bit against mid block teams. And I feel like we need a right wing forward, probably more in the mold of a Madueke type, who's very, very good in terms of dribbling and getting past the man in those type of situations. Really good at ball retention, ball recovery, ball retention in those kind of situations. So I'm not overly keen on Mbeumo, though I understand his benefits. I think for Man United, I'm not sure I know there's tons of reports of linking Newcastle to him, and I don't know how far up he is up on our list. I don't think I think the targets that we're really, really looking forward to aren't necessarily being shouted out about. Though I do think Cunha was one of our top targets, but we weren't going to necessarily break the bank for him. But yeah, for Man United, probably really good. And you have Cunha in the 10 and Mbeumo probably in the 10. I don't know if that's how you're looking at him as well. I imagine he is very hard working. I think there's only Bruno Gomes in the league who's covered more ground in terms of running than Mbeumo this season. So you've got two really hard working number 10s. So be absolutely all you need to now is to top it off with a striker, hence Liam Delap. But yeah, I'm not overly convinced that he's our number one target, though I do think he's on our short list.
I think he's quality, man. I think he's been quality for at least a couple of seasons, if not more now. I looked at Bryan Mbeumo and think it's probably one of the most obvious choices for Newcastle to go and get on that right-hand side, because as much as Jacob Murphy's been quality, and he really has this season, to be fair to him, I do think that you need that baller, and the goals speak for himself. I think he's got in a lot of people's team of the season. I think Brentford have been underappreciated, really, what they've done and what Thomas Frank has done yet again, particularly in terms of scoring goals. And I think him and Visser have been brilliant for them. So I think it would be a great signing. I think you forget how young he is as well. He's not like he's 29, 30. He's still got a few years left in the tank. I think he's only 25. So for me, I think he's a very good player. And I've been a big fan of him. And he's one that I said we should have gone for some backup for Saka. One thing's for sure, he wants to be playing first-team football. I don't think he's got a chance of coming to Arsenal. I think he's going to have to go and play first-team football somewhere. I actually think Newcastle will be perfect for him, in my opinion. I'm not saying that Manchester United is going to flop, but we've seen of late what happens when players go to Newcastle in the last couple of years to what has happened when they've gone to Manchester United. I think it's just facts. I think it would be a really good move for him. I don't think it would change in terms of too much of a style. I think he'd fit the Eddie Howe system, but I also actually think that he'd continue to score goals there and settle in quite well around some better players. Like Brentford system's good and they've got some good players, but Newcastle, I think, are going to go next level this summer window. And I know that we were speaking off air about Mitchell potentially leaving, but I do still think he'll have a very good window. So I think Mbeumo will be a brilliant signing for Newcastle. Brilliant.
Yeah, what is that with Mitchell leaving? And shamelessly, I'm going to put a little dig in there. I thought it was I read somewhere that it's disgusting to sign new sporting directors, and within a year they leave. It's a sign of a badly run club. We know that's sometimes nonsense. But what is the real reason behind Mitchell leaving? Because he hasn't been there that long, has he?
Yeah, I think the difference, perhaps, give my own dig back, is that we've got a really good manager. And in terms of talent ID. So before Paul Mitchell got there, we were really good in terms of talent ID and the players that we got in. And part of the situation is it's difficult with, and I heard it earlier in the show before, it's difficult with sporting directors and managers who, in terms of hierarchy, who's above who. And if you've got a really good manager, i.e. Eddie Howe, who's already got a good system around him, we've got the likes of Steve Nixon, Andy Howe, his nephew, who spotted Tonali, for instance, and as well as Livramento and all those other guys. Steve Nixon was the person who went across to Brazil to sign up Bruno Gomes. When you've already got a team that's doing those kind of things there, it's very difficult for any sporting director to come in and kind of then say, stamp their authority, say, I want things my way and this way. So I would guess that's something to do with it. It was a little bit difficult when he first came in. Then they had a process of where they were telling everybody that they're aligned, but clearly they're not that aligned. And I think the timing, just before the transfer window and just after we've confirmed Champions League is telling. So it'll be interesting. I think we're looking for a technical director. So that's going to be a slightly different role. That's probably going to be someone that's more to do with getting the financial structure and kind of the paperwork deals over the line, rather than someone who's going to be identifying players and giving them to Eddie Howe. I think it could be the opposite way around. Eddie Howe and his team will be saying these are the players we want, and this person will be going to get them over the line.
Yeah, listen, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's certain clubs can bring someone in, see that it's not working, remove them, and everyone goes, it makes good business sense. Only a handful of clubs, whenever that always gets turned into a circus, if that makes sense. And it's quite normal to bring some. Do you know what I mean?
That's normal. That's look, what you're saying. It makes perfect sense to me. And if that's the road they've gone down, because there's times where you don't want too many chefs in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Similar sort of thing happened with us with Vivell. When the sporting directors came in, he was just kind of lingering around because Vivell brought us Madwaki. I'm not sure about Mudryk, but he was looking at a few players when he first came. Then he ended up leaving, and now he's at United because his role was redundant. Basically, that's what it is. Yeah. So there's only so much you can really do in that position, and if people are overlapping each other, it could just get a bit messy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Messy because everything was all right before. We didn't actually need you here, really.
I agree, and too many cooks can be a problem. Back on Mbeumo, look, I agree with Potsy. I think he's a phenomenal player, and I'm trying to not count my chickens before they hatch, but it has been a dry paint. I'm going to kind of quote Peter Drury. Boy, we have thirsted for some positivity at Man United this year. Been thirsty, mate. Like I'm gasping. So to have Cunha done, then you get these links. I'm really hopeful we bring him in because between the two of them, in terms of Premier League goals this season, that's 35 to 40 Premier League goals.
Yeah.
Man United need goals. We're not going to. Amarim said something really interesting today. Goldbridge and I were talking about it earlier that this summer, not everything's going to be fixed. There are some restraints. We're not going to have like a massive summer. Typical British media didn't follow up with any good questions to say, well, what does that mean? How many are you expecting to bring in? He could mean we're going to struggle to bring in more than 3. He also could mean, don't anyone think we're going to suddenly buy a brand new squad? We're aiming for 5 or 6 players and we would all stay relaxed. So it's frustrating that you never get. Journalists never ask for specificity ever. Unless it's about a topic they know they're not going to get a specific answer on. Are you going to sign this player? They're never going to give you a straight answer of that. They'll ask that question 5 times in 9 different ways, but they won't ask questions that fans actually want the answers to. Having said that, listen, if we could bring in those 2 players, we know goals are important. We're probably only going to bring in, with good sales, 5 to 6 players this summer. Goals. Because we're not going to win the league next year, no matter how good our summer is. But if we could add an extra 40 league goals into our team next year, I think that would put us into a more respectable position where the manager will be given more time, there'll be less media pressure, and hopefully we can look at it and say, we'll bring in another 5 or 6 players, and that team could really cook. But I think goals is one of the most important areas for us to focus on, and it looks, we're honing in on the.
If you pick Newcastle over Man United, so would you understand it?
As a United fan, I'd be disappointed, but I wouldn't look at it and go.
Would you understand it though?
Oh yeah. Of course. I love my football club, but I am unbiased, and I understand where we are right now, and we are still the biggest club in England historically. We still have the biggest fan base, but football players have got to be careful. He's mid-20s. if he picks and does a 5-year deal with United and we don't improve, the system doesn't work. Ineos are awful and nothing they do gets us back to where we want. If we end up, I mean, if I think we sign players like him and Cunha, we won't be relegated. I think we'll score enough goals to not be relegated, but he could just sit at mid-table level at a club the size of Man United for years and regret it. So absolutely, I would understand if he went, I just feel Newcastle were in a better position. I just feel they're doing all the right things. I wouldn't look at it and go, that's a weird decision. I would totally understand it. So Newcastle, in a Champions League position, they won a trophy this year. They've got owners that want to get them to the top. They have seen progression year on year. Now, progression isn't linear. That's one thing I would say. And Newcastle were testament to that. Slow start by Eddie Howe, little spike. The first full season was amazing. Last season, it wasn't as good. Now this season, back into Champions League position with a trophy. I think football fans have got to get into their brains that when you're down there, you're never just going to get to the pinnacle in terms, generally, you're not going to just get better and better and better each year in the Prem. There's too many other big teams with money that are willing to spend. But yeah, I'd get it. I want him at the club, though. I'd love Mbeumo. If we could start our summer, Cunha, Brian Mbeumo, a Delap coming in. That could be sort of 2 or 3 of our opening signings early in this window. I think it will go a long way to showing United fans that we're not just going to sit back and accept this season and sign a player or two and see what we can do next year.